I'd really like to welcome you to our opening night. It's really such a pleasure to see so many people returning, and there's some new faces as well. We've got an extraordinary program for you tonight. I need to confess something to you. Probably a number of you have heard me say this a few times, but really, this this is my last year as artistic director, okay? It has been 9 years with maybe a little hiatus somewhere in there. So you're going to meet the new artistic director tonight, Megan Strymus, and she's going to be performing for you. I'm so happy she's taking over. It's going to be very exciting. But I want to thank you, the audience, because people from around Canada, I keep hearing, Words Aloud has the best audiences. And it is really true. This is what makes the festival. So really, my great thanks to you all. So now, as we must, the show goes on. And I'm very pleased to introduce your MC for tonight, Hazel Leider. Hazel is a force to be reckoned with in the local literary scene. She grew up in Tobermory, Ontario, and lived abroad in Dublin, Ireland for many years. She has a degree in history from the University of Guelph and went on to obtain a master's in women's studies from Trinity College in Dublin in the year 2000. She now lives in Owen Sound and tries, but she says mostly fails, to write every day. Although she's just come back from an awesome workshop in Newfoundland, so I think she's been doing a bit of writing lately. Active in the arts community in Owen Sound, Hazel most recently organized the Sweetwater Music Festival. Her stories have appeared in several Canadian literary journals. Her story, Reading Braille, has just been published in the fall edition of the Windsor Review. Here's Hazel.
Welcome, hello, isn't it fabulous to be here again? This is only my third Words Aloud, and I just can't imagine life without it. The only thing that made it bearable to come back from Newfoundland was that I knew that only 5 sleeps away was the Words Aloud Festival. So I just know we're going to have a fabulous weekend together, and we're going to have a fabulous evening tonight. Liz has mentioned about great audiences. The poet Walt Whitman said, to have great poets, there must be great audiences. And I think it's absolutely true. The poets have to stretch to reach us, and there'll be some stretching happen over the weekend. Now, on a more serious note, PEN Canada once again has a presence at the festival in the form of the empty chair, just off to my left here, which symbolizes the many writers in the world who have been silenced and are not able to travel freely and to read their works at literary festivals such as this around the world. This year, we are highlighting the case of David Isaac, one of 9 Eritrean journalists who are honorary members of PEN Canada. Since his arrest in 2001, over 10 years ago, Mr. Isaac and at least 9 of his colleagues have been held without charge or trial, reportedly in the most appalling conditions. In September 2012, the organization Reporters Without Borders announced that only 3 of the 9 journalists adopted by PEN Canada remain alive, of which Mr. Isaac is one. Mr. Isaac is a playwright, writer, and co-owner of the newspaper Setit, and he appears to have been arrested because of his criticism of the Eritrean government's treatment of students and political dissenters, and for Eritreans' prosecution of the war against Ethiopia. So I urge you over the course of the weekend to sign the PEN Canada petition available in the festival bookstore, which is just over in this direction, to help give PEN Canada a stronger voice to lobby against such injustices. We hope you will also consider joining PEN Canada, pick up a pen bookmark from the bookstore, and go online to become a member. You can make a difference. I know signing a petition may feel like a small thing, but if 1 million people sign a petition, it becomes a much bigger thing. Now, it's my great pleasure, before we get on to the main show, to introduce a very important guest to the festival. This has become a tradition that we're very proud of. Mr. Kevin Eccles, the mayor of West Grey, is a poetry lover. Yes. Yes, doesn't it just make you want to vote here or move here so you can vote for him? One more thing we've got going on over Toronto, right, folks? West Grey is a longtime supporter of this festival, and it means so much to have that kind of ongoing support for the arts in our community. And if there's anyone else here from the West Grey Council, we commend you as well. So, without further ado, Mayor Kevin Eccles to read a poem of his choosing.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Hazel. And Liz, when you started up here, you said that you had a confession. I thought it was, hello, I'm Liz, with this type of a crowd, but that's usually on a Sunday morning when you start doing those types of things. I shouldn't make jest. Liz has given an awful lot of her time, sacrificed probably more than any of us can think of, to make the Words Aloud Festival into what it has grown into from that first year of being a small, not necessarily knowing where it was going, for most of us, but I think Liz certainly knew where it was going. And I'm so proud to be up here tonight, knowing that it has gone beyond the boundaries of West Grey. It has included all of Grey County now. You mentioned about being in Williamsford, and last weekend it kicked off in Owen Sound, and we have the high schools now that are involved, a bunch of slam individuals. When I was in from high school, when I was in high school, slam was quite a bit different, but anyways, welcome to West Grey as well too. And yes, I have been privileged to be able to come and recite a poem. The first couple of years, Liz was more hands-on with me. Here's the poem. Read it, Kevin. She has given me a little bit more literary license and said, well, maybe you can pick out one and read it. So I enjoy, I would like to read poetry and more books from the library. Contrary to what somebody had said, that some mayors in bigger urban centers feel that libraries shouldn't be there and don't read, they go to just football games. But I do have a love for that. So this evening, to kick off the festival, I've chosen, did some research, and they said if you just use one individual, it's called plagiarism. But if you take and you work with a whole lot, it's called research. So I've done a lot of research, and I've condensed it down to just one poet. The poet this evening that I've chosen is Edgar Albert Guest. Last year, I was on the side of, Liz reminded me when I come in of something that was maybe a little more on the erotic side, to the left-leaning, and being a politician, I thought I could try and find somebody that had done some work with politics and more life and whatnot. And I did some research with Canadian poets, and I didn't find an awful lot, but that really grabbed my attention until I got to Edgar Albert Guest, who is very close to being Canadian. He emigrated from England when he was very young, I think about 3 or 4 years of age, moved to Detroit, and lived there all his life. Started with the Detroit Free Press paper when he was 13 years old, and worked and lived in Detroit for his whole life, and stayed for 6 decades working with the Free Press. And being that close to Canada, well, that's right. It's Ontario that Windsor is very close to Detroit. There's a mayor in Toronto that thinks that's in Manitoba. But so I thought that Mr. Guest was very close to Canadian, and I have chosen to read one of his poems. Father, And it begins. My Father knows the proper way the nation should be run. He tells us children every day just what should now be done. He knows the way to fix the truss. He has a simple plan. But if the furnace needs repair, we have to hire a man. My Father, in a day or two, could land big thieves in jail. There's nothing that he cannot do. He knows no words like fail. Our confidence he would restore, of that there is no doubt. But if there is a chair demand, we have to send it out. All public questions that may arise, he settles on the spot. He waits not till the tumult dies, but he grabs it while it is hot. In matters of finance, he can tell Congress what to do, but oh, he finds it hard to meet his bills as they fall due. It also makes him sick to read the things that lawmakers say. Why, Father's just a man they need. He never goes astray. All wars he'd end very quickly, as fast as I can write it. But when the neighbors start to fuss, 'tis mother has to fight it. In conversation, Father can do many wondrous things. He's built upon a wiser plan than presidents or kings. He knows the ins and outs of each and every deep transaction. We look to him for theories, but look to Ma for action. Father, by Edgar Albert Guest. He was a very prolific writer, wrote for 30 years. His verse and poems were in the Detroit Free Press 7 days a week, and never missed, as he said, his own quote. He died in 1959, but his own quote was 30 years, and he never missed a deadline or never missed a publication. So I have found an admiration for Mr. Guest, and I thought that he wrote this well even before Tim Hortons. And it sounds like maybe my father would have been one of those ones that were at Tim Hortons discussing politics. But thank you very much. Enjoy the weekend. It will no doubt be a fabulous time. And enjoy West Grey, the amenities that we have here. I believe you have a small function at the town hall coming up. And welcome and enjoy. And yes, if you do want to vote, come back in 2014, vote early and vote often. Thank you very much.